meeting. And with that, we'll get right into our agenda. Item number one, the approval of the minutes of our commissioners' meetings on the 16th and 30th of April. Ms. Carnes?
Yes, sir. With regard to the April 16th board meeting minutes, there is a typo in the minutes that are in your packet. In the very first paragraph, it references the wrong date. That should read April 16th, 2026. With that correction, if we could get please a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Grover?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo? Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. Next item. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of our April 30th meeting. Yes, we did. You're right, Delphine. The minutes say March the 12th, don't they?
With regard to the minutes of the April 30th, 2026 board meeting, may I have a motion, please?
Again, so moved.
They approving the minutes, ma'am.
Mr. Grover?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo? Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners and Ms. Carnes. We move into our public comment section. Item 2 of the agenda. Do we have anyone present here this morning that wishes to give comment to the board?
Good morning, Commissioners. Currently, we have 3 in-person speakers. I'll announce the 2 immediately following. I'll announce another 2. The first is Brittany Beeman, and no topic to address is cited. Is John Terrace Calvert Maintenance.
Good morning this morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me, I'm shortness of breath, so I'm gonna make it quick. I was just coming out because I've been still in the same situation. Certain people have been trying to help me. I do know y'all have been very busy with a lot of things going on. Make a long story short, my house almost caught fire 2 days ago where the washer marshals had to come out again. I've been in the process of actually looking for another home where I'm being turned down by a lot of landlords because of the $9,000 judgment from the last place that I had to talk about. A few people said that they was going to help me. I'm not really hearing anything back from them. I have a 5-day eviction that I have to be out of my unit with me and my 9 babies due to the situation of non-payments. And my thing is, I just don't know where to go from here because the house shouldn't have passed. And I have documents from the city as well as that the house should never pass. And right now, I'm just asking for help because it's nothing more money can buy than peace. And I don't want anybody's money. I just want a safe home for me and my children. That's all I'm asking for. The things that came behind, God will bless that back. But right now, I just want to have a safe home where I can get my will rest and stop looking at it as I'm a crazy person. So right now, today is why I came here, and God blessed me to wake up. I have been working with Mr. Norman. I have spoken to Miss Karen Rose. I have spoken to a few other people in here that I see eyes on. And I'm just asking, when is it going to get the help going to start? Because right now, it's a Section 8 housing choice voucher contract that states the house is supposed to be safe. And everything that is going on in my living situation has been in the hood guidelines that should never even pass. I thank you all for helping support me and my family for a home. I'm not ungrateful. Yes, I did find a home, but I'm not the one that did the inspection. So I'm asking nicely if I can get some type of help and support with this because it's getting out of hand where me and my kids is going to have no place to go soon. All because I'm asking for help. And I did find a home, but I got turned down due to the neglection of the experiment of the inspection for the unit to be passed. But moving forward, I have been to the point where security has been in my home. Bad things has been said about me. I'm not a bad person. I'm just a mother that's trying to fight for her rights for her children and whoever else that need help. That's all I'm doing. I'm not here to make nobody look bad. I'm not here to put nobody in a bad predicament. I'm a child of God. I'm not perfect. None of us are. But today is the day where I'm really begging for help. I have severe asthma, and I could not stay in the home last night. I have roaches crawling on my bed. I'm losing everything. but I'm still dealing with it because God said he has something in store. I don't know what it is, but today is the day that I'm asking for help, and I'm begging for help. I went to legal aid. They sending me to you all. I don't know who wants to go to besides God. So I'm asking y'all for today to please make it allowance that me and my family find help and get justice today because it's been going for too long. I understand y'all helping million people out here, but right now it's time to put the negative to the side and think about what's really right for these people. And that's making it right for our community. Right now, I got the city outside in front of my house fixing the sewer line that should have been done a long time ago. But God placed me there for a temporary, not a permanent stay. So today I'm asking you all, not for what I lost, but for what God is trying to bless us with. And that's help. And I've been reaching out, trying to get a hold of you. But nobody's been answering me. Nobody's been giving me your information. Everybody's been trying to keep you away from me. I don't understand why. But at the same time, I have enough pictures and videos on my phone where you get the time to want to sit and look. Along with Mr. Edmond, that's on my phone saying he don't have a date when to do my inspection for my unit and fussed at me because I came down here to get help. I'm in trouble. But I want justice and I want help the right way. My Pastor Guns is actually fighting for me. A whole lot of people is fighting right now. We in the world of sin, but God said we are not sin. Find it in your heart and think about these babies. With my 2-year-old baby face is bleeding right now or scratching because HVAC system is not clear. These houses that these Section 8 units is being passed, they need more thorough proper checks with. If it's not you all bidding them up and it's somebody that we're renting from that's not on your contract, which I have looked up a few people that's on the list to look for a new home, some of the people said the documents are not written up right. So I don't know who to go through. I don't know what to say. It's just to the point where Ms. Beeman is tired and is breaking my body down, and I have to fight for my children. These are innocent babies that I'm fighting for. I done lost about 12 big bags of clothes, but you know what God said? It's materialistic. You got more when it come to heaven. So right now, while we here on earth, let's do it right. Let's make it right. I don't care what it takes, because I'm not going to stop until we get it right. With the false CPS case with Karen Brown put on me, and I'm finding out all this information, I'm not letting nobody hurt me no more. God is going to win my battle for me. He's going to win. And I thank you so much. But that's my innocent baby in the back. My other daughter has asthma. Y'all seen all 9 of my kids that came the last time. Let's do it right. Don't tell me something and don't mean it. You asked me to write down 5 things. I wrote down 3 because I'm not greedy. I just want what's owed back to me and my children. And that's a safe home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beeman.
Good morning, Commissioners. Melissa Bonfiglio from Legal Aid. I do want to echo what Ms. Beeman just said regarding the problems that she has had in finding a safe home for her and her family with a housing choice voucher. Housing choice vouchers are a tool that have a place and a time, but they are not a satisfactory substitution for hard, affordable units in our city. There's simply not enough homes. The HCV process is cumbersome and difficult to navigate for many tenants and many of our clients. And a point that I've said many times before, where we struggle specifically with NRHA is this long gap in time between the RAFTA being approved and the housing HQS inspection being done. Tenants lose housing because NRHA takes too long to conduct the inspection, and as in Ms. Beeman's case, some houses pass that should have never been passed in the first place. So then tenants end up in a cycle where their HAP contract is abated, they ultimately have to leave, and then they are out back in the same situation as they were in the beginning. I would also like to pivot to the maintenance work that's being done at Young in particular. Certainly glad to hear that NRHA is rehiring maintenance workers after its decision last year to reduce its number of maintenance staff. We're also glad that NRHA has publicly acknowledged what everyone, including NRHA, has long been aware of, that there are significant, long-standing mold, piping, and sewage issues in Young Terrace and Calvert Square. It is simply not the case that the cold weather in the winter and the rain that we've had recently have unmasked these problems. The problems with the mold, the pipes, the sewage, and the heat at Young Terrace and Calvert Square are not new. While outdated infrastructure may certainly be a factor, it is definitely not the sole, let alone the primary cause of the dire conditions that the NRHA residents are facing at this time. By failing to properly address and repair problems as they've been repeatedly brought to NRHA's attention over the last 5 to 10 years, NRHA has made a calculated choice to accelerate the deterioration of Young Terrace and Calvert Square. And while we're glad that the Board of Commissioners authorized the use of up to $5 million for repairs, we have concerns about whether or not the repairs are being done correctly. While several of us were out at Young Terrace 2 weeks ago visiting one of our legal aid clients, we walked by a unit that was being repaired. Front door, back door, wide open, maintenance was in and out. We looked in, the kitchen cabinets had been taken off, and the back kitchen wall was covered in black mold. All around that were new kitchen cabinets on the floor, some that had already been installed. NRHA, in accordance with its obligations under the Virginia Residential Landlord-Tenant Act, must properly remediate mold in accordance with professional standards. Not only is NRHA putting its tenants at a significant health risk by simply installing new cabinets over mold, that is actually a significant health risk to the maintenance workers. Mold is no joke. It needs to be handled by a professional mold remediation company. I know I've spoken for a while and I appreciate your patience. I wanted to quickly also address a concern that has been brought up to us by multiple residents of work orders being marked as complete in Rent Cafe when no work has actually been done. I brought this to the attention of NRHA recently, but we have a tenant at Young Terrace who put in a work order in September saying, my pipes are flooding. I'm worried my kitchen ceiling is cracking. It was marked as complete in December with no work ever having been done. She then put in another work order in Rent Cafe. The problem is getting worse. I'm getting worried that my ceiling is going to be falling in. That work order was marked as complete on March 31st, 2026. No work had been done. We have the pictures. Nobody has been in her unit until I raised this issue with Ms. Rose recently. I would like to end by giving a huge shout out to Karen Rose. We really, really appreciate and acknowledge the hard work that Ms. Rose herself is putting into this. Ms. Rose is doing the job of 5 people right now. She is the only one at NRHA who is clearly communicating with us. She cares deeply about the residents and the housing authority, and I want to give a shout out. We appreciate you. We see all the work you're doing, and I thank you for that. Thank you for your patience this morning, Commissioners.
Thank you, Ms. Bonfiglio. We appreciate your commentary, and we too give a shout out to Ms. Karen Rose. We do appreciate her efforts and recognize that she's doing an outstanding job covering 3 or 4 ports of the waterfront, and appreciate all that she's doing in servicing our clients and our residents. Next up, public commentary.
Our next speaker is Zenobia Wilson. Topic to address is communications, immediately followed by Tiara Lassiter. Topic to address is community concerns. And then lastly, we have Raytron White. No topic to address is noted.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Zenobia Wilson. I'm a former resident of Tower Gardens. I've came and spoke to you guys numerous of times. So I'm going to get it right into it. The reason why I'm coming to you today is I was displaced again as far as I found a place with my voucher They didn't pass inspection. I ended up having to move. I had to wait literally, like she said, a month before my house got inspected. The rafter was processed at the beginning of December. It didn't get completed until after January 1st. I moved in my place the end of January. Working with people first. They helped me find a place, moved in with them. They promised to pay my deposit. As of today, which is, what's today? May 14th, my deposit is still not paid. I just found out through communication with my legal representation, Miss Melissa, that nothing had been paid. My half hasn't been paid. I've been paying all of my portion of my rent, but NRHA has yet to complete their portion. If it wasn't for Melissa reaching out last week, I wouldn't have known that none of the payments would be processed until tomorrow. Communication sucks with y'all. That doesn't make any sense. It's been months I've been in my place. If it wasn't for me going into my rental office, asking them about my deposit being paid, I wouldn't have known that NRHA hadn't even paid none of my portion of rent. And even if you guys had financial issues going on or whatever the case may be, it should have been communicated. I've already been through ups and downs of having housing issues. So the last thing I would want to hear is that, oh, Ms. Wilson, I'm sorry, your deposit still has not been paid. We might need to have, rearrange your living arrangement. Oh, you know what? Your NRHA place has, your NRHA portion hasn't been paid. So that blew my mind. I just want to say, going forward with the new things that y'all about to do with the neighborhoods, you guys have got to get better communication. The communication has to be better, even down to my NRHA worker right now. The email that she sent to Melissa, it didn't even have my real last name in it. It said Miss Williams. How are you my worker? You don't even know my last name. How do I not know that you go process my stuff for somebody else? It needs to be more intentional, more impressionable, the communication has just got to be better. That made no sense. So right now, I'm still sitting on dust, waiting to see if my payment is actually going to be processed tomorrow. And then that may take a week. So I might come back next month and update y'all on how long that takes. But going forward, when y'all move these new neighborhoods again, communication is key. You can do fix a lot of things by communicating. I've been communicating with people first. They blaming and pushing the buck on you guys. Oh, it's NRA. They still haven't processed it. So going forward, you guys definitely need to work on communication, especially with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Ms. Lassiter? Ms. Lassiter? Oh, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Well.
Good morning, commissioners and all in the room. In a time of history where it appears that America is losing its democracy, rights, and humanity, the low income and middle class has faced extreme discrimination and classism. I understand that the Housing Authority plans on demolishing the Young Terrace and Calvert Square communities. However, people still deserve affordable, safe, and dignified housing. The recent sewage and housing conditions of Young Terrace and Calvert Square is downright deplorable. Long-term housing neglect has been committed against public housing residents since I have been living in public housing, which is a total of about 27 years. As a long-term resident of Tidewater Gardens and Young Terrace, I know from firsthand experience of ongoing maintenance issues such as plumbing, mold, lead, asbestos, and other environmentally harmful issues that occur every day with these low-income housing. As well as being labeled a low-income person, I know what it's like firsthand to be ignored, to be dismissed, to be discriminated against. I know how hard it is to come before a council in a room like this and speak to people who are obviously not paying you any attention. I know what it's like to continuously advocate for yourself and ultimately get no result or get no answer. So we have to do a better job about how we're treating people, because before we are black, before we are poor or any other adjective, everybody is forgetting that we're human first. We are not animals, and we should not have to live with raw sewage and foul smelling water. We should not have to live with apartments essentially falling down. We should not have to be ignored when we come into the rental office and treated as if we are bothering them or we are a nuisance when we pay rent to the system. I don't understand how every single entity in Norfolk benefits off the poor and mistreats the poor so bad. They talk about us so bad. They dismiss us. They ignore us. They neglect our needs as if we are not human. But why? Because everybody is making money off the poor except for the poor. But then when we have a need, it's like, oh, because you are poor, your need is not important. And that has to stop. It's that mentality. It's that, oh, I think I'm better than you mentality that we must stop. Upper class think they're better than middle class. Middle class think they're better than low class. Low class think they're better than street homeless people when everybody is struggling. And that is the truth. So what I think we need to do is dedicate time and money into these public housing units, fix them up, and treat the people with dignity and respect, because they are human first and they deserve better. And especially if we are going to continue getting grant funding for them and making money off of them, at least treat them like they are decent human beings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lassiter. Mr. Raytron White.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner. And thank you, Makisha, for allowing me to go. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I met Virginia Tech Go Hokies at a graduation. I got two concerns that we have in Grandy Village. One concern, 2 weeks ago, there was a home invasion of a unit that the unit would have been living in for almost 14 years. And apparently the agency got the unit wrong, and one of our residents was bombarded by the cops and the NRHA security team that said her house was abandoned, which it wasn't fully furnished, and they treated her like she was a criminal. And at Grandy Village, we want to be treated like we are the next residents in the city, that we have respect for all our residents. And at this time, we have not spoken to the young lady. We have reached out to her family. Her family's out of town. We want to know some answers in Grandy Village of why this happened to a resident that been living in our community since she was a little girl. She's been paying her rent. She lives in her house, and she's following the rules and regulations. How did that get mixed up? Because it could have been come out a different kind of way. So we want to have some questions. We don't want this swoop under the rug, or we don't want this to go bypass and say she's all right. We want to know answers as the TMC president and all the residents, if this is going to happen to somebody else that has the wrong address. Second point is we have had meetings talking about our neighborhood, our rental office, and things that we're going to do. I was just informed on 2 days ago that the young man that lived in our neighborhood, Mr. Johnson, was offered the job as the street sweepers in our neighborhood to get our neighborhood back. He had been working 26 years for the agency and got a new position to come back, to be told that he could not get the position because he don't have a driver's license. That's a policy of NRHA. For heaven's sakes, he just picking the trash up in his own neighborhood. So therefore, they did not give him the job. So when after we was told he was getting the job and announced that he was getting all our meetings, everybody was happy to tell from HR that he could not have the job because he don't have a valid driving license. I mean, I thought that's what HUD wanted us to do, to take care of our own community and to hire employees of the community. So are we going a different way? I just want to have some answers to our residents. We have to be treated, like the young lady said, like we're not animals. We're human people. We pay taxes in every part of the city of Norfolk. Why can't we be treated like human beings? And the communication has really went down. We have not got that idea straight yet. And that's the biggest part of NRHA. The communication is not where it needs to be. It's been years. So commissioners, please help me on this to make sure that the residents of every community has the proper due diligence of getting their stuff right and getting the proper way of doing things. Treat us like anybody in the city of Norfolk that pay taxes and pay rent, and have employees to make sure they treat the residents like they're human beings. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful morning, and go Hokies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White, and thank you to the other individuals who commented today. We will take those comments under advisement and be addressing those as appropriate as we go forward. Moving along with our agenda, we're now into resolutions. Ms. Carnes?
You have two resolutions which will be presented by Steve Morales.
Good morning. Purdue,
Morning, Steve.
can you pull up the presentation? I'm going to quickly go through. We have a couple Section 18 disposition resolutions before the board today. These are in the Broad Creek area. These are the former Moton Circle property as well as the Dream Keepers property. Next slide, please. First, let's discuss Moton Circle. Moton Circle was demolished roughly 16 years ago, or 14 years ago. And it is next to the Broad Creek community, off Cary Street, in the portion of near Mission College, between the railroad tracks and Cary Street. NRHA has attempted to redevelop the site for a number of years, and in coordination with the city of Norfolk, we have done some of the replacement units on Broad Creek, and then we have been working towards a home ownership plan for the Moton site. As part of the continuation of that work and moving that project forward, we're going to be seeking Section 18 disposition so that we can work sell off portions of the property as part of our redevelopment. Next slide, please. So currently we're working with the city of Norfolk on finalizing a site plan. We have a combination of, it's entirely for sale homes, but we have a combination of affordable and market rate units that are being planned. We're using townhomes as well as single family homes. We'll be coming up on some community engagement in the coming months, and are going to be working with our HomeNet office on affordability across the property. We have a Virginia Housing Innovation Grant for the townhomes. We're going to be doing a process where we're looking at doing modular, panelized, and stick-built on the townhomes, and doing a full analysis on affordability, delivery, and quality. And we are preparing community engagement regarding the program on the actual development. We've completed a Part 58 review, and we are now at a process. We have in the packet a support letter from the city of Norfolk to support the Section 18 application. So we're here before the board today on the resolution for the Section 18. Once we have that, we'll make an application to this to HUD, to the Special Application Center in Chicago, for their approval for our disposition plan. And as we prepare the site, we'll be still assembling some funding that we need for the infrastructure through our coordination through the city, and we will be moving the project forward. Next slide, please.
Before we leave that one, I read one of the bullet points. A warehouse is going to be taken down. Is that the warehouse adjacent to the Moton site?
That is correct.
The old Globe Iron warehouse, or?
It is not part of the Globe Iron site. It was a site that the authority received as part of the train, the siding of the trains behind. So that warehouse, it's been empty for some time. It is not a HUD property. So as part of the Moton development, we will be taking that warehouse down. You'll see that as a RFP coming up in really within the next 60 days. The next item that we're going to talk about for resolution, go back one slide, Redu, is the Dreamkeeper site. This is the former Robert School site. It was part of the Broad Creek Hope 6 development. And a number of years ago, say probably about 13 years ago now, Delphine will correct me if I'm wrong, or at least we're close. There was a decision made to swap land with the city so that they could move forward with the construction of the new school site as well as a regional library. So where the school site is and the library were former public housing land. We swapped with the city for the Robert School site. And as part of that work, NRHA put a HUD deed of trust on the property at the requirement of HUD. So at this time, we now, in order to relieve that deed of trust, and again, going back as part of the Hope 6 plan, NRHA had fulfilled all the requirements under the Hope 6 with respect to any replacement units, public housing units, and the Dreamkeeper, or the site really where the current bowling school site and the library site were identified for market rate development. So that transferred over to the Dreamkeeper site when we did the swap. Subsequent to that, NRHA has looked at that for potential redevelopment. However, we were approached by the city that the city wanted to control the site. We contacted HUD on how they wanted to address that. And so we're going through the Section 18 disposition process for that site to transfer it to the city. As part of that, there's a requirement that the site must be sold at fair market value. And so that's what we're going to be moving forward. We've done the environmental work and it switches to categorically exempt. It's just a transfer of vacant land with no mitigation required. Next slide. So before the board today, we need resolutions for the disposition activities on both sites for Section 18. Each one has a separate resolution. Again, after board action, we will make application to HUD and move those dispositions forward.
For the sake of educating our eighth graders like yours truly, give us a brief overview of what Section 18 is.
Section 18, for any public housing community, and where if you want to demolish and dispose of the land, sell the land, or make it ready for redevelopment, there's the process to get HUD approval for either of those actions, for the demolition and the disposition, in order to remove the HUD deed of trust. The deed of trust on the land severely limits how you can redevelop or sell or deal with the land. And so this action takes us through that, and it gets us basically the HUD permission so that we can sell the land for these two properties. In other cases, there may be other actions.
Thank you for that, Steve. Commissioners, any questions?
Can I ask a question about this?
Yes.
Stephen, for at least for my understanding of this, can you help me kind of consider this variable about the length of time this is all taken? This strikes me as a little quite a lengthy process. If the whole thing was demolished, I mean, so long ago you can't remember when it was. I mean, help me understand what the time horizon for this Section 18 process is.
So, not specifically related to this iteration of Moton Circle. Over the course of the Moton Circle demolition, there have been many approaches to redevelop the site. Some years ago, again, after demolition. I believe demolition actually occurred in 2011. We were working towards working with actually TCB on a full redevelopment of the site as apartments, affordable and market. The issue came about in working with the city and through their planning that we could never arrive on a development plan at that time that really met what the city was looking for. And a big part of that was in the Hope 6 program. We had delivered the affordable units under that program. And so the city was looking for the additional market rate units that were still to be developed across the site. At the time when we first hit this, there were issues in the overall global economics. We had gone through the 2008, and we were now in the 2011 through 2014 period where there were other downturns. And therefore, economically, we could not move the project forward. Sequestration was in this time frame in the 2012, 2013 era. So the decision was at that point to go different paths. We looked at home ownership, and we've gone down numerous routes on preparing a home ownership plan. And through those years, there have been some starts and stops. Ultimately, we haven't been unable to get across the hurdle of getting an approved site plan with the city. So in the process that we have now and how we've been working with the city, we're at a point where we're close to our approved site plan and able to finally move it forward.
Hey, what are some ideas that have been talked about in terms of utilization of the Dreamkeeper site? We know Moulton is going to be home ownership, and they're going to be single family detached homes as well as townhomes there. What's some of the conversation, the thoughts with regard to how the Dreamkeeper site might be used?
So under the original Hope 6 plan, the thought was a for sale market rate home ownership. And so that is still on the site currently. As we transfer to the city, we know the city has the Broad Creek refresh plan. And again, in those plans, they've identified this area as essentially for sale home ownership.
Any other questions of Mr. Morales, commissioners? Comment, criticism, suggestion? I guess we'll entertain a motion, Ms. Collins.
You want to begin with the Moulton resolution?
Yes, so we'll begin with the first resolution, which is the resolution authorizing the interim executive director to submit a Section 18 disposition application to HUD for the Moulton Circle site. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
A second, please?
Second.
Mr. Grover?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
The second resolution is the resolution authorizing the interim executive director to submit a Section 18 disposition application to HUD for the Dreamkeepers site. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mayo. Mr. Grover?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Mr. Miller? Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. Thank you, commissioners. Our next agenda item has to do with budgetary matters, audit report for fiscal year 25, proposed fiscal year 2027 budget presentation, and a client services use program update.
Morning.
Good morning.
We're going to start with our audit review. If we could, please, we have our audit team with us virtually. Doreen Mayhew, formerly Marvin Hopkins, is on the screen to go over our audit review process with us today. While we're pulling them up on the screen, I would like to say that regulatory compliance requires that the annual audit is conducted by independent CPAs and auditors in accordance with certain standards. Those standards will be reviewed as part of the process today as well. The auditors are going to speak to the standards, give us an overview of the process and the findings from their results from their review. Do we have them up, Radu? We have them up, okay.
Good morning.
See them. Do you see us, Laura? Hi, Laura.
Hi, yes, I can see you. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
So I'd like to introduce, please, Laura Prey. I believe Nick Daly and Nick B may also be with her. They are our
Yep, good
audit
morning.
team, and we're going to let them take it from here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. That was a great introduction, and just a couple of items to go over as we get into our presentation. The audit and information that we are going over is for your previous fiscal year, so just keep that in mind that these are your 2025 numbers. And Nick, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. We try to keep these presentations as brief yet informative as possible for everyone. Feel free, if you all have questions, we're happy to answer them. We're going to go over the opinions, compliance results, some financial highlights, and then kind of wrap it all up. So on the next slide is just a picture for you all to understand all of the different reporting requirements that as an agency you have or your audit has to be in compliance with. So important things to note here are you are subject to government auditing standards, which add an additional level of testing and analysis that we have to do on your information. Because you receive over $750,000 of federal awards, you're subject to uniform guidance, which is the single audit where we're looking at the compliance aspect. And then, of course, because the majority of that funding is coming from the Department of Housing, they have the Real Estate Assessment Center, which has some requirements, required reporting, required schedules that the team has to prepare, and we have to audit and then submit. So your financials are quite lengthy, and if you go, there we go, Nick. So over 100 pages, that's a lot of information to read. I always like to direct board members to a couple of key areas. Right at the beginning of your financial statements is your management discussion and analysis, and that is really going to show you comparative information, current year, prior year, and it's going to go over the changes and tell the story essentially of what happened over the year. A little bit later in the report, you can see we have your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. That's going to list out all of the grants that you received. It's a single year presentation, but at least it tells you where all of that funding is coming from. And then lastly, the item I always like to point out is the schedule of findings and question costs. And this is a nice one-page summary that tells you the type of opinions that were issued, the reports that were issued, if there were any findings, and that information. So we're going to go over all of those, but just so you guys can find those when you're looking through over 100 pages of financial information. So next thing we're going to get into is those opinions and reports. And there's 3 reports that we include in your financial statements. We first report is just going to be a normal auditing report. You would see that in any type of organization, for-profit, not-for-profit, governmental, are all going to have this audit report. The second report is that government auditing standards report I mentioned, and that's really, looking at waste and abuse and reasonable and necessary and the processes in a little bit more detail. And then the third report is that uniform guidance report that's going to issue the opinion on your compliance for the major programs. And on the next slide, we have, this is that summary schedule of findings and question costs that I mentioned. So this is kind of one of the last pages in your financial statements. It's towards the end. But as you can see here, and we'll go into more detail on all of these items, it goes over what type of opinion was issued on the financial statements, what type of opinion was issued on the federal awards, what programs were tested. So for this year, the programs that were tested were your housing voucher program, which includes the Section 8, emergency housing, and mainstream. Those were all tested. As a part of that testing, we're testing tenant files, we're testing waiting lists, landlord disbursements, your CMAP reporting. We're also going to, for any audit, test procurement, test disbursements, test payroll, test your journal entry process. And then we also did a little bit of public housing file testing as well. Public housing wasn't a major program, but there were some items that had been noted in previous years that we wanted to test and follow up and see how those things were looking this year. So what we have on the next couple of slides is really the most important sections of each of those reports that I mentioned. All of those reports are 3 or 4 pages long, again, trying to just identify those key areas for you. So this is your auditor's report, and the opinions that we issued on that audit report was a qualified opinion on your business type activities, so that's essentially the housing authority itself, and then an unmodified opinion on your discrete component units. Those are, while it's all included in your financial statements, they're 2 separate funds, so they get 2 separate opinions. And the reason we had that qualified opinion on your business type activities, which again is that housing authority bubble, is that there's just a lot of cleanup, additional reconciliation, and things that the team was handling internally, which unfortunately led to delays in the audit process, and we just weren't able to get enough support and detailed information on some of the key areas of the financials. So we did have to qualify that opinion, which is what you can see is described in the next paragraph there. And then I also wanted to point out that we did also have a prior period adjustment. So that's just something that we note that during our testing, we discovered items, we or the team, discovered items in a previous period that needed to be updated. So if you go to the next slide, Nick, thank you. Because of all of that I described, we do have a finding that we issued in relation to the financial statement. So it's what's referred to as a financial reporting finding, and it really just speaks to all of the things that I just said, that there were delays in the process and certain items weren't able to be reconciled, or there were significant adjustments that we had to make to those items in order to, get the updated information that we did include in the statements. All right, I'm sorry, did we have a question? Oh, okay. This is the paragraph from your government auditing report. And again, this talks to the financial statements. So it just, again, states that we did have that financial reporting finding that we just went over. And the next opinions and reports that we're going to go over is your uniform guidance report. And this is the report on your compliance with your major programs. And we did issue an unmodified opinion on your major programs. However, we did note some items that we felt, were representative of deficiencies in the controls and the process that needed to be reported as part of your financials. So you can see that that's spelled out here. And then those findings, again, all of these findings are a page or a page and a half long. We've just included the key items on them. In your housing voucher cluster program, we tested eligibility. So we tested 40 tenant files. And of those 40 files, we noted 4 files that had incorrect payment standards that were utilized, and 2 of those incorrect payment standards resulted in an incorrect housing assistance payment. So that's what we noted there. On our next finding is related to public housing. I mentioned public housing wasn't a major program, but we did do some testing in that area just to follow up on previous items that had been noted and let the team know how the program was operating. So in that, we only tested 5 files. We didn't need to test a full sample. However, in those 5 files, we did note the following. 2 files were missing their 214 documentation. 1 file didn't have its annual recertification completed in the 12-month period. 1 file didn't have proof of custody for a dependent in the household. And 1 file had various 5-8 adjustments that we weren't able to verify because the support wasn't in that tenant file information that we were provided. The next finding that we had related to compliance is related to procurement. and of your procurement contracts that you procured during the year. So this is not contracts that were necessarily in place, but just the contracts that went through that procurement process. We tested 5 of those contracts, and one of those contracts was procured via what's referred to as a sole source method. However, it didn't have the necessary documentation to support the use of that sole source method. So some documentation retention that needs to be updated, or perhaps an improvement to the process to just make sure that all of those steps are being followed properly. We also had an item that we needed to note for CMAP. This was just referred to as an other matter type of finding. So it's just an item that we noted in our testing that we have to report. And essentially here it is related to CMAP indicator 2, which is the rent reasonableness indicator, didn't have the correct sample selected. So in CMAP, the sampling methodologies and what you're testing are very specific in the guidance. And this sample that was used just wasn't quite in compliance with that guidance, so we needed to make note of that. We didn't disagree with what was reported. It's just that we don't, the proper sample wasn't supported, unfortunately. And we actually did have one other finding, and I apologize, this is in your financial statements, but we neglected to include a copy of it in our PowerPoint. So I just wanted to mention that we did have another other matter finding, which is, again, just something that we noted in our testing that we have to make you aware of. And that was related to your housing voucher cluster waiting list support. So with the waiting list, we're reviewing our tenants properly selected from the waiting list. Were they selected in the proper order? Did they come from the waiting list? Those types of things. And unfortunately, the authority wasn't able to provide us support that applicants were informed that they had reached the top of the waiting list. And I think it's probably a situation where that information just hasn't been retained as to why any of those potential tenants that reached the top of the waiting list weren't issued a voucher. So it's just some documentation that the authority needs to retain to be able to support how people are being selected off of the waiting list. All right, that was a lot of information. There's still more to go, but we're going to get into the financial information shortly. Just have some required communication to go over with you as the board. And really what we want to point out here is that there were some new policies implemented in your financial statements, and there are some new accounting policies coming up. So in this past year, there was a change in the compensated absences and how those are recorded and reported. It honestly really didn't result in a significant change for the authority. It's just something that, we needed to disclose. However, in this upcoming fiscal year, there is a pretty significant financial reporting model change. So your statements themselves are actually going to look a little bit different. And Nick, if you wouldn't mind jumping over to the next slide. Just want to go over this with you all so that you're aware of it, and when you see the financials in the future, hopefully it rings a bell. So as it is right now, your financial presents operating revenues, operating expenses, and then other non-operating revenues and capital items. So all of the funding that you're receiving from the Department of Housing is considered a subsidy. That's actually reported in operating revenues. However, the financial reporting model that's changing is that any subsidies that are received are going to actually be pulled out and put into their own separate section. So it will make your financial statements look a little different, because you're going to have operating revenues that's really going to just consist of your tenant payments and some of those other items. A lot of operating expenses, which is going to include that HAP expense, which is very significant, but that related HAP revenue is then going to be reported in a section below it. So it's not changing the recognition of any of these items, it's really just changing the placement on the financial statements that we wanted to make you aware of. And then a couple other items to note is, even though we did have some challenges, in the audit process and some of the delays that were mentioned in getting the information, we didn't have any challenges with the team that we were working with. So obviously we work a lot with the finance team, a lot with the HCV team. Everyone that we were working with was, didn't have any disagreements with them, was working to get through the audit process. We just had some challenges that we had to tackle, all together. Now I'm going to hand it over to Nick Davey, and he's going to talk a little bit on some of the financial highlights for the organization.
Thanks. So what I have on this slide is just an excerpt from the management discussion and analysis, so a condensed version of our balance sheet, essentially. And then just echo what Laura Ann mentioned at the beginning. All these balances are as of 2025. So any financial update you receive today, any budget information, that's going to be more actionable and recent than anything on here. Another thing we did notice at the very beginning that we had a prior period adjustment. When we're doing comparative schedules like this, you'll notice that we're saying restated for 2024. That just means that that adjustment is reflected in those balances and it's restated. So we compare it to 2025 to a restated 24. So some of the kind of high level changes, we had an addition of HUD revenue and capital contributions, which you're going to see come through in the current assets, as well as some increases in construction in progress. This 8 million change you see for capital assets net. We had some increases in current liabilities offset by principal debt payments and the change from long-term to short-term. So you'll see non-current liabilities decrease, current liabilities increase. We had a net position of 242 million, cash and cash equivalents of 52.7 million, and then restricted net position 88.8. And that's items that are restricted for certain uses, maybe operating reserves, things like that, that don't have a corresponding liability. So they kind of make their way all the way down to the restricted net position. This also includes restricted HAP payments, things like that.
Nick, can I just make one real quick comment? I always like to point this out for board members. That unrestricted net position, second line from the bottom that you see there, 53 million, that can be a little misleading because the GASB definition of unrestricted is different than the HUD definition of unrestricted. So the GASB definition is saying that there's not an external party that's restricting these, like if it was a required debt payment or something, that we owed to someone else. However, from a housing authority perspective, all of those net positions are restricted to the program that they're in. So that 53 million is made up of some unrestricted in public housing, some unrestricted in HCV, mainstream, et cetera, et cetera. It's still restricted to those programs. It's just not restricted by an external source. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. And then let's look real quick at the operating revenues and expenses. As I mentioned, we've had increases in funding from Housing Choice Voucher and from Capital Fund. You'll see the Housing Choice Voucher side come through in the HUD operating revenues, this 6.9 million increase. We had some increases in admin expenses for salaries and benefits. The authority has a couple of employee pension plans, OPEB plans, and those change year to year, and that allocation hits most of the funds of the authority. So that some of the increases are from that change. Also, with an increase in the HCV revenue, also comes with an increase in HAP payment. So you can see at the very end of the operating expenses section, we got an increase of about 3.6 million in housing assistance payments. So that's Section 8, mainstream, emergency housing, anything that's going to pay that subsidized HAP payment is reflected in that number. Operating income is 4.1 million. I guess just also to piggyback on the GASB 103 that we mentioned before, that operating income you'll see a little different in the next years, as that operating subsidy, that HUD operating revenue at the very top, is going to have its own line below everything. And then we've got HUD capital grants, 13 million. And a change in total net position of 19.8. And at the very bottom, that capital contributions listed down there for the HUD capital grant, which was 12.9 million this year. And then on this next slide, we're going to look at the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So this is listing, as Lauren mentioned, all of the funding that the agency is getting for the whole year. This is just for 2025, broken out into clusters if there are clusters. So our major program this year was Housing Voucher Cluster, and you can see those three programs that make up that cluster. Section 8, Housing Choice Voucher, being the biggest program of the agency, which is fairly common for authorities nowadays. And then following below that, still a fairly large public housing operating fund, capital fund program. And then at the very bottom, you can see that we do have some local assistance from the city, 4.8 million, all to that total of 100 million for federal awards, both federal and local. And then just to recap some of the significant highlights, we had material weakness, material non-compliance, and some significant deficiencies finding. We had a qualified opinion on the business type activities, which is really the authority's bubble, and an unmodified opinion on all of the programs we tested as major. Net position increase, 19.8 million, which is good. Cash increase of 9.8 million. And then as we just went over, 95 million of federal awards, about 5 million of local assistance. And then, as I mentioned before, just keep in mind, everything is as of and for the year ended June 30, 2025. So anything you hear about financial today is going to be more up to date. And I would suggest, if you're going to open up the audit report, take a look at the management discussion analysis for a little more narrative of why the numbers changed, not just what the number change was. And then I can open it up if there are any questions at all.
Yeah, I have a question. Laura, is it uncommon for organizations of this size and scope to have some level of findings under uniform guidance?
That's a great question. It's very common for organizations to have some sort of compliance finding. And the reason being, when we're doing your financial numbers, if you look at your financial report, it's going to say everything is materially correctly presented. So we have a concept of materiality. With compliance, it's really yes or no. So we might test 40 items, and if you have one item that missed a signature or didn't have a support, we have to report that. So these days, and just a little bit of background for anyone that might not be familiar with our firm, we've been doing housing authority work for 30 years and work with agencies across the country. I would, without checking the numbers, I would say probably 85% of our housing authorities have some sort of compliance finding because the regulations are changing. There's obviously been a lot of staff turnover in agencies over the past 3 or 4 years, and it's just a challenge to keep staff up to speed on all of the changes and all of the requirements, coupled with getting the right information from your tenants.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other question at this point? Comment, criticism, suggestion?
Laura, Nick, thank you. Pleasure working with you. Looking forward to next year.
Thank you as well. We appreciate everyone's hard work.
Right. So just to wrap that up, guys, that is our report card. Some good, some not so good. We do have some work to do, but as you heard from the report, these are common issues across the board. So we do have in our final report a corrective action plan. Staff is currently working on that plan to implement those corrections so we can have a better review, a better report card for next year. Okay. If there are no additional questions, that concludes the audit report, the audit process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yes, right here, right.
Hey, y'all.
Wonder where you going there.
Come on back. Come on back. Don't get away so quickly. All right. I am presenting, and we will be pulling up on the screen the proposed FY 2027 budget. We are 5 months into a 6-month process of collaborating with staff, our community stakeholders, and agency leadership, ensuring that the financial plan is in line with the vision, mission, and goals of the agency. It is a grand task coordinating revenues and expenditures to meet as many programs and projects needs as available or funds are available. Short funds, we still want the same level of service or better, so we go through an exercise of trying to see what feasibly can we do. Our projects are consistent with the FY 2026 budget. We have confirmed funding sources based on federal, state, and local allocations received, as well as projections based on previous budgeted actuals. Our proposed budget for FY 2027 is $161,419,854. This is a net increase of $181,000 from the previous year for fiscal year 2026. The 2026 budget was $156 million with one revision, one amendment to it, which brought it to $161,000. So that is again your net. As you look through the programs, no significant changes. These are our major programs and projects. I would like to highlight a few budget assumptions that we use in creating our budget document. First assumption being that capital fund projection is based off a $10 million award, and that has been consistent for the last 2 years. That capital fund award also includes a 5-year plan for our low-income public housing needs. State and local funding is anticipated for fiscal year 2027 to support our home ownership programs of Home and HomeNet, as well as administrative staff costs through the general fund. Privately managed earnings are projected in excess of $6 million, and those privately managed earnings help support the CLCC, the bottom line of that budget. Low-income public housing program is budgeted to break even with the support of privately managed earnings and capital funds. Capital funds help support the properties at a higher level of maintenance and help them not operate in a deficit or as much of a deficit. Our client service programs are funded primarily through grants. We are providing continued level of support to our communities with a continued award of those grants. Utilities were based on an average of actual expenses from prior years with a projected escalation of about 3%. And last, our fringe benefits projections are based on 33% of the salaries. This is an increase from 27% in the prior year, and it is primarily based off insurance premiums increasing by 10% with the Norfolk Consortium. I would like to say that those insurance premiums have not increased in 4 years, so it was time. The Housing Authority is projecting to cover, or have included in our budget to cover, 5% of the costs, with 5% of the costs carried to the employees, but also a cost of living increase of 5% to help offset that. Are there any questions?
Commissioners, any question or comment?
Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment. This budget is presented at this point, but I just want to confirm the resolution to approve the budget will be at the next meeting.
That is correct.
So we have a month to kind of further vet, discuss, seek input before we'll approve this. And we will be looking for a resolution at the next meeting.
Next month.
And
Yes, sir.
We'll look at this was presented at the Finance Committee this week. We'll look at it in detail and make a recommendation to the participation of that resolution next month.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
The next step, sir, would be the public hearing, which is today at 11:30. We did not receive any comments from the advertising or the comment period that was checked as recent as last night and this morning. And like you said, the budget will come back in June and for submission for approval, approved budget.
And certainly the public hearing section is formally today, but we are always open to hearing, the board members are always open to hearing from the public on these matters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any comment at this point as we move forward? Here, Client Services and Youth Programs. Good morning, Mr. Norman. How are you, sir?
Also, thank you. After all, we're going to kind of switch this up a little different. My presentation originally was going to look a little different, but we're going to switch up and go to the video first. I'm hoping that wakes us all up a minute after going through a couple of things through financial information or anything like that. I want to say this. board member before last, our interim executive director, Michael Clark, said that we would talk specifically about what we're doing for the summer programs. And as we begin to talk about summer programs, I kind of want to give you some background or something. Whenever we're talking about youth programs, we have to talk about the partnerships that make these programs work. When you talk about Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority and the youth programs piece, we're not talking about a large staff. But at the same time, we have to provide services to basically 5 public housing communities, to HCV, to our senior residents. So there's a lot that goes into making sure that we put a lot into making sure our residents have what they need. So that can only happen through partnerships. So as we continue to merge our different partnerships, we recognize the most important thing for for what we do. The most important entity is our residents. So when we talk about our residents, we talk about, we hear you and what's going on. We look at the Ross Grant that provides us opportunities for our residents to get certifications, trainings, and credentials to help them be prepared in life to go on with employment, better employment, underemployment, to set their goals. We look at FSS, Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which is a $618,000 grant that provides opportunities for folks to set goals and to come in at incomes where it's literally nothing, but gives them an opportunity where they can save, where they can actually have dreams of owning their own home, to buy automobiles or whatever the goals are. We just recently had an FSS graduation where we had over 28 residents to graduate. And from that graduation, we had folk who had purchased homes. We had those who actually went back to school. We had those who actually started their own businesses. We even had those who purchased automobiles. So they're looking at goals, helping their families to actually go and look at scholarship information to go to school. And most importantly, their children has an opportunity to see what they're doing in terms of embedding themselves. Mm-hmm. The other part to it is when you saw the youth on the screen, we look at a grant that we received, which is over $300,000 grant, with this youth empowerment through sports. We're literally using sports as a way to empower young people to look at reaching their goals. So through the YES program. In addition to that, I forgot to mention when we talked about the Ross program, that is an $816,000 grant that provides the opportunities. But throughout all these different opportunities, we can't do anything without the partnerships that allow us to service as many residents as possible. In addition to that, just recently on last week, we received an additional $500,000 to assist us with our senior programs. So when we talk about our senior programs, we're looking at isolation. We're looking at assisting our seniors with this device, this dangerous device, this telephone device that they can navigate communications through technology that would assist them. We're looking at intergenerational programs that can help our seniors and actually to navigate the world and actually what we would like to say, be able to age in place. So there's a lot that goes into actually getting to the place of affordability to make sure that our residents have things that they need, but most importantly, looking at that important commodity, which is our people. So when you look at our youth programs, you're going to see that's going to be on our website. That's going to start on, I want to say Friday, tomorrow evening. On our website, there's going to be a host of different programs that young people can sign up for the summer. Even if we look community by community, right now we look at Boys and Girls Club that provide services to Grandin Village and to Young Terrace, 2 large communities. With those, we average roughly about 65 kids a day that we're actually having programs and that goes on every day, from after school homework help, different programs, which is going to transition to our summer program. Each one of our summer programs at both the Boys and Girls Club not only teach leadership opportunities, but it also teach financial literacy. It also has opportunities where they can look at STEM and STEAM programs, where it's ongoing learning that happens at those 2 communities. When we look at Diggstown, in Diggstown, we have the Resilience Center. With that particular Resilience Center, the same things are happening, which is operated by GEAR. So with these different programs in those communities, we're actually targeting programs where we have programs for every kid in there. So what you'll see I have a host of programs here, and I won't read them all out to you. You can see them on on the website, and I don't want to read them all out to you because I don't want executive director to say I'm taking up too much time. But there's programs. When you look at that website, you're going to find programs. It's going to be listed, the name of the program, and it's going to be also listed as the age group that it qualifies, the kids qualify for, and it gives an overview or description of the particular program and the capacity in which we can actually handle for those different programs. One of the things I have to mention, every kid that's in our portfolio, from our public housing community to HCV, we will purchase a membership card to any recreation center they want to go to. So there's no reason why kids are not involved in different activities. We will actually purchase a membership card for recreation for all our kids in all our different communities, including HCB. So we did have those programs. So some of those programs are intergenerational programs that we're working with both youth and seniors. We have programs, youth executive council, where we're working specifically where youth are engaged in the government. And one of the things I want to talk about too is a program that we have, what we call young learners. And with these particular young learners, pre-apprenticeship programs, the young people, they have an opportunity during the summer where they can actually earn a stipend to be in these particular programs. A lot of these kids that we're talking about with the stipend programs, they're too young to be employed. So the city of Norfolk has what they call the NAIL program, Norfolk Emerging Leaders. But those programs for summer employment don't start until kids are 16. So we have a huge gap of kids between the ages of 13 to 15 that they're old enough to get in trouble, but at the same time they want to earn a wage. So with those particular kids, we put them in our little young learners programs, Success Here We Come programs, where they have an opportunity to earn stipends by learning how to go to work, from entrepreneurship, gardening programs, programs where they visit a lot of universities, they visit different technology schools, and through the summer, they have an opportunity not only to learn, but to earn dollar amounts into those different programs. We have partnerships with Norfolk State University. There's going to be a big youth summit in terms of those kids learning different types of residual skills. We partner with a host of different people. I talked about Success Here We Come, Grind and Grow. One of the things I need to say through our partnership with the city of Norfolk and Norfolk Public Schools, that we will be providing meals, what we call breakfast and lunch meals for all our kids who are participating in the program. So they will continue. Our senior programs, working with SAG, we have senior programs in which that whole grant we call SOAR that we recently received for roughly about $500,000. That grant will work specifically with our seniors, and that SOAR grant is Senior Outreach Aid for Aging Resources. So we have a lot of things covered, and we will actually have that information coming up on the website. Have theater arts programs. So there's a lot of different things that we have going on. Most importantly, in all of our communities, kids will have an opportunity to learn how to swim. So that's a partnership that we have with the city of Norfolk. We just recently met with the new director from the city of Norfolk, the Recreation Parks director from the city of Norfolk. And we both have a commitment to make sure that our kids have an opportunity to participate in all the different activities throughout the city of Norfolk. So there's a lot of programs that we do have available. Our whole idea and our whole concept is that to make sure we can provide as many protective factors to counterbalance those risk factors that our kids in the community will actually be tasked with during the summertime. So great programs. They will be listed pretty soon. I'm saying pretty soon. They will be listed on the website, I want to say tomorrow evening, so that Leah Bird, y'all, raise your hand. Leah Bird. They will be listed pretty soon. I can't say enough about intra-agency collaboration. When you talk about client services, we do a lot that depends on grants. We have to do it. But most importantly, we do a lot that depends on partnerships. Because without the partnerships, I tell you, we can't get a lot done. But our interagency partnerships, when we talk about communications, we talk about IT, we talk about safety and security. And then when I look over to my left, sometimes I hate even looking at finance because I don't know where we are sometimes. But when we look at finance and everybody working together, it's an awesome team. So although you sometimes see, they're rightfully so for some people that may complain, but if you look at us really telling our story about all the different programs that we have available, not just for youth, but through the client service department that help people empower themselves from using different types of strategies, we're not doing bad. We're really doing good, especially when, once again, I said with our FSS program, with our community affairs program, when we talk about our RAB board, when we talk about our TMCs, we talk about our advisory councils. When we talk about all those things that we're doing, when we look at departments, development as they're building, we do recognize it's not just brick and mortar. We do recognize our folk are the most important entity that actually can happen. So any questions, and then I'll move away.
Julius, I'm uplifted to hear that all of our young kids will have the opportunity to learn how to swim, which says to me that our Diggstown residents and our Oakleaf residents might get to take advantage of the Southside Aquatic Center.
Yes.
Which I understand is somewhat underutilized. And I just have a standing recognition of Hampton Roads. No kid in Hampton Roads, virtually an island community, should not learn how to swim. You got to learn how to swim. I can remember as a young kid that my confidence was uplifted when I was about 10 years old. And I went away to camp, and I could already swim. So many of the kids who were there couldn't. And they made me a team leader only because I could swim. I don't know if that was a leadership lesson for me, but I certainly learned how to swim. And that gave me an opportunity to build up some confidence. And secondly, it seems like you have programs for all age groups.
Yes.
And I think that's important. Of course, we deal with our youth and we deal with our seniors. Don't forget us in the middle. I like to put myself in the middle.
So that's why we went to the term, we talked specifically about multi-generational programs.
Thank you. I like that term.
And one of the other things that you said is the confidence that you built when you learn how to swim. One of the things that we do have built in with our aquatics program, that kids have an opportunity to learn how to swim. The city of Norfolk has made a commitment to us too, that our young people who are age 16 that goes through the aquatic program and learn how to swim, they can also be lifeguards. So those are things that not only build their confidence, but also gets them in a form of understanding how to work and to go to work and learn those particular skills of actually working. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
And I want to thank you too for reminding me of my youth when you opened your presentation with, "Wait a minute, Mr. Postman." I don't want to tell my age, but that brought back a lot of memories for a young guy like me. Thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you for all that you do. Once again, I appreciate you guys all.
Thank you, Julius. Our next agenda item is our esteemed interim executive director, Mr. Clark.
Good morning, everyone. And Julius, I will defer my time to you anytime, bro. Just a couple things real quick. I know we have we got to get to a closed session and also a public hearing, so I'll be more brief than normal. What Julius said a minute ago about when we were talking about the programs was the interaction really with staff internally. And, that's one of the things that makes not just client services, but all of this work. Since I've been back, we've had to make some changes to the organization. I don't want to say we did a restructure, maybe realignment, but part of that was not just to serve our clients, but just so we could communicate better. So when I'm hearing comments this morning about, we've still got communication issues, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I've been talking maintenance a lot when I get up here, but we also know that there are other areas we need to improve on as well. Next month, I'll be back 6 months, and in June, we'll kind of go over recapping some things from this year. I did not expect I'd be here 6 months, but hey, that's okay. But seriously, it'll be a good time to recap the year, talk about some progress we've made, talk about some things we need to make more progress. So I want to do that, but one of the reasons I asked Julius to give a update today was, you heard a lot of number stuff, and I did want to wake y'all up after that. But more importantly, there are things that, quite frankly, that NRHA is doing that you may not even hear about sometime. And to the programs that Julius just explained, just went over, you may not have known about them. So we're going to try and bring that in maybe not every meeting, but a lot of meetings to show things we are doing as well as trying to deal with maintenance. So just kind of put a pin in that. We'll recap it again next month. If there are any questions, I'll take them.
Thank you, Michael. Commissioners, any questions of the interim ED? Comment, criticism, suggestion? Thank you, Michael. Committee board updates. I'll start with you, Dr. Smith.
My colleague, Mr. Gruber, and I met with the financial representatives at the leadership level this week in anticipation of the presentation of the audit findings and the preliminary proposal for the budget. I think that it is one of the things that I think is worth noting in the wake of Mr. Norman's comments is that we ran across an alphabet soup of acronyms and grants and programs that it turns out there are 50 grants that are functioning within the framework of this year's budget, totaling nearly $25 million. And this is not done at a centralized level with a grant writer. This is done within the departments that are responsible for executing and overseeing the funds that come through those grants. I found this part of our discussion regarding the budget to be impressive. Again, what they're doing addresses the needs of the people we serve across all demographics, and doing things at an important grassroots level to affect a change in the trajectory of people's lives. I've even asked the interim executive director to perhaps give the board a deeper dive understanding of the extent of what the list of those grants and how they provide a meaningful contribution. Richard, any other thoughts that you have about the things that we've been doing with the Finance Committee?
Said that way better than I would have. No, but I agree. I was very impressed with the quantity of grants, and obviously all of those represent gaps where we don't have the funding. And so you heard the youth programs. Someone has to go out and find that money to put those programs on because we don't get it from the federal government. We don't get it from state and city. It's just not part of those programs. And so I'm really impressed, I think, with each individual inside the organization that's going after those grants and getting them. And I would love to have a big picture summary to see if we can support them even more in getting more grants and really driving additional program services.
With regard to the other, high-level finance matter issues, what I can say is that I believe it is fair to comment that we are impressed with the changes to structure, process, and outcomes that have come through the budgeting and audit process. And that going forward, I believe we're establishing standard work that this board can then come to rely on for sound advice, evaluation, and information that we can then take action and be accountable for in a meaningful way. And I applaud the current leadership for their changes to structure and process.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Smith and Mr. Groover, Commissioner Groover. Do we have any other committee reports that we'd like to share with the group? Hearing none. Commissioner comments. I'm going to take the lead on that very briefly. One of the things that we don't do often enough, I think, is give credit to some people, and this is personal, okay? It has nothing to do with the board. But there are a lot of unsung heroes in our organization, I think. I mean, I'm sure as we look at our operations and daily activities, there are a lot. Virtually our entire staff is an unsung hero. But I'd like to call out
Patient and leadership as we move forward at identifying the next iteration of leadership here for the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. So, Mr. Clark, I just want to thank you for your service, and I want to thank you for your collegiality and your friendship. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
While we continue to navigate these choppy waters.
And Mike, make sure you get that check in the mail to Doc now, huh?
I'll be looking out for it.
Thanks. Any other comments, commissioners? Hearing none, I think we're about to go into closed session. Ms. Carnes, go right ahead.
Yes. My apologies. Resolution convening a closed meeting on May 14th, 2026. Be it resolved that the authority will convene in a closed meeting pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended to discuss the following matters which are specifically exempted from public disclosure by the code section referred to below. Number one, personnel matters involving the assignment appointment, promotion, demotion, performance, salaries, or resignation of employees of the authority as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Act, and number 2, consultation with the authority's legal counsel regarding actual or probable litigation and legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Act. May I have a motion, please? A second. Thank you, Ms. Mayo. Mr. Groover?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Friendly?
Aye.
Thank you.
We will transition in, take 5 minutes.
We're back in open session. Resolution certifying a closed meeting on May 14th, 2026. Whereas the authority has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712D, I apologize, of the 1950 Code of Virginia as amended requires a certification by this authority that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore, upon motion duly made and seconded, be it resolved that the authority hereby certifies that to the best of each commissioner's knowledge, number 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. And number 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the authority. May I have a motion, please?
Moved. Second.
Mr. Groover?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. We-
Go ahead.
We are looking at a proposed fiscal year, public comment, really, public hearing with regard to our proposed fiscal year 2027 budget. We got lead person for that. Any comment? Anyone here to comment?
We don't have any comments online.
Okay.
I would like to reiterate for the public hearing portion of this that we did not receive any comments on the comment line. The advertisement period was for 10 days, May 1st through May 13th.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask the question? Where does the document for this, proposed budget, where is it put out there for the public to view, to see?
Yes,
Our
sir.
website and where else?
Our website and our social media pages.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other comment or question, commissioners? Mr. Clark, were you trying to say something?
After.
Okay, 10-4.
Can we check the hallway, please, one more time? Thank you.
Want to speak? Thank you. With that, we'll move forward with a vote with regard to the.
There is no vote
No.
today. The
No vote
vote will
today?
be next
Next
month.
month.
Right.
We'll
This was
move it
just
next
your
month.
public,
This is
this is
hearing.
just your
Michael,
public
you
hearing.
wanted to say something?
Yeah, we're done with this, just.
Yes, we'll just note for the record that it's 11:45 a.m. We haven't received any comments in person or online, and we are now closing the public hearing on the FY27 budget. Thank you.
Straight? Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
okay. All right, Michael.
Just, promise you all won't throw anything at me when I say this. We're going to need to do a special, it was brought to my attention, we're going to need to do one special meeting before the end of the month with regard to, was it Mission College? It's a resolution item. It should take, again, 5 minutes, but it's we're going to have to get the resolution in place before the end of May.
And what is this resolution designed to do?
This will be a resolution for the refinancing of your Mission College existing Fannie Mae loan.
I got you.
Again, I hate to use the term boilerplate, but it
Can I ask
is.
you,
Sure.
within the board committee structure, where does the consideration of this reside? Is this the domain of the finance committee?
Actually, it would be finance and development.
I'm going to make an appeal that we try to figure out how to put resolutions in front of some of the committee structure before we vote on them here.
Yeah, because that certainly gives us another level of vetting when we do that. And that's critically important.
To that point, we have tried to make sure that the finance committee does some due diligence before and has a recommendation on things. And again, by way of example, this didn't necessarily fall within the domain of a committee. But when you were asking for an emergency $5 million, budget, the chair and the vice chair met with you to have a little bit of a discussion about that before the board at large was asked to vote on it. So I'm just going to make that as a suggestion.
And I think it's a very valid suggestion, and we'll charge the ED with the incumbency of making sure that these types of things don't surprise us as we go forward. Recognize it's important, and we'll get it done, but it does serve us better if we can vet these things a little bit in advance before they come to the full body.
Understood. So if it's, I can poll you.
I'm available.
Well, I mean, as far as a specific date.
Richard, if you're available, we can.
If y'all want to do it next Thursday, that's fine.
Michael, why don't you set something up and communicate through Delphine as to what the timelines, the options are, and we see if we can't get a good date that's for everyone. Thank you.
Certainly. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ms. Carnes, do you have anything else, commissioners? Anybody have anything? Good. Once again, any other comment? And a third time. Hearing none and recognizing that our agenda is complete, we stand adjourned.